Hello and welcome to a more casual and quicker video on these two really old Figuarts from 2012. This is the Phoenix Phantom and the Medusa Phantom from Kamen the Wizard, released all the way back in 2012. That's so long ago, feels like so long ago. Whew. After all that time, we've had the end of Heisei and now the Wiwa era and all that. And do be sure to check out my other more proper review videos for the newer figures, as well as another video of Sentai stuff that I just got a bunch of old ones, secondhand ones, just to unbox and stuff. And I'll have another wizard related one to unbox and do right after this. I'll film it right after this and see when that video comes up. But anyway, so two old stuff. I bought this from a Facebook seller in one of the local Hong Kong Facebook trading groups and whatnot. And he's just a quick look at the back here. So he listed these as like almost brand new, so unlike the Sentai stuff, these should be a lot cleaner and newer than whatever. And I've also like had these way longer, at least half a year, just in my room somewhere. Just haven't bothered to do whatever with them. So being from an older era, it's got an older type box and old type instructions. You see 3 hands on each side and her staff. So let me just get that box out the way. So let's see, let's get the Phoenix one out as well. And I'm not going to go all out and do like a proper photo shoot of this figure. I'll probably just do one photo each with these figures, just because I just wanted to get these videos out the way, just so you guys know what these figures are like if you don't know already, but you probably do. I mean, there are reviews of these figures all over the place by now. It's been so many years. He's got 4 hands each on each side and one of his signature sword. By the way, I like the designs in Wizard, his Wizard suit himself. Not too big a fan of Beast though. And I do like the designs of all the Phantoms, monsters in the series. Not a fan of the minor Wizards when your Editfield one was getting a ring with the giant claws. Not a fan of those suits. The white Wizard suit was okay, and the black Wizard suit in the movie was also okay. But the show itself is pretty badly written. So here's a quick look at her tray. You can see her 4 hands in there and her staffs too. Let's just take a look at her staff here. Now let's zoom in. And yeah, that's pretty nicely painted. There's a nice gradient and gold sort of wash on the green snake or serpent. And the actual staff itself is also nice and matte black. The gold does a nice little cut off. Molding there is a little bit on the messy side on the top bit, but maybe that's on purpose. The gem is a solid color though, not transparent, which is a bit of a shame, I guess. But these will probably release in a semi-budget manner, because they never sell as well as the actual rider Figuarts. So I guess, which is one of the reasons why they've stopped doing them or switched to just having the villains be riders themselves, so the toys would sell. Who knows? But yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't sell as well, because back when Double came out in O's, Forza Wizard, all of these had so many monsters, and when it got to Kamen, they cut down. You still had like the Baron monster, but yeah, not really any of the other monsters, and all the other bad guys were riders as well. So quick look at all these hands there, and then quick look at this sword. So the molding there, etchings, that's pretty nice. The gradient white there is pretty good too. And yeah, nicely produced. This is very hard plastic, so it will snap if you bend it. I'm just gonna get him out there. Just stand him there, and stand her there. So even though she's female, she actually has pretty big shoes, so she can stand quite well. And in terms of height, Medusa there stands just about 13.5 centimeters or 5.25 inch, and the Phoenix one is about 5 7 inches including the horn, and which is about just under 15 centimeters, so 14.7 centimeters ish. And these obviously go with the original Wizard Figuarts, but if I just bring in the new sort of real bone one that I reviewed a few months ago, you can see the Wizard is taller than Medusa, but he's not that much taller than the Phoenix one. So yeah, the scale, in terms of scale, the monsters do still fit okay with the newer Figuarts. I'm not too bothered with these. They're not too out of place. I mean, he's definitely shorter, and if you want the scales to be correct, he should be just ever so slightly taller, both of them. But, you know, they look fine next to each other, so it's okay, it's a pass. This isn't like my Agito real bone figure next to the really old Agito monster figures from the Armor Shochak Henshin line. Those were way too small. So anyway, let's go over with the articulation. You can lie down. So she has a, let's see, double neck joint, so you look quite far back, quite far forward, sideways, sideways. Rotation there, that's on a peg and a swivel, her shoulder pads, so that's going to be a bit of a pain. Gonna plug that back in there, come on. It's going to be a pain to plug back in. Just going to have to aim it just right. There we go. So that's a little bit nice. So be careful with that, and of course full rotation there. But snakes are soft-ish plastic. They definitely get in the way. And yeah, so shoulder pads on a peg and swivel, so not a ball joint like they are these days. See arm there. That's a really awkward thing if you can see it. Like, look at that, just pokes out there. That looks kind of weird, like almost like a Lego Technic joint. It's kind of weird, but you know, there's lots of movement there, up and down. Of course, for the most part, this is going to hide it, so it looks okay. But if you lift that up, the arms definitely look weird. Like they're sort of just sticking out. So that's weird. Like she's got man shoulders, but on a really small, dainty female body. Oh well. Let's see. Rotating joint there. That's still really tight joint actually. That's cool. Full rotating joint there. That's good. Double. That joint's still tight. Double elbow joint. So you can bend that far. See, upper torso joint there. Big ball joints. That's great. Nothing. I think there's a joint there, but it might as well not be there. You can rotate just a little bit and bend just a little bit because this thing gets in the way. It is. It's pretty hard plastic actually. Only the tip has a little give, just because plastic tends to have a little give anyway, but it's not designed to be soft, so that definitely gets in the way. So the legs come down like the old double figures. A bit of rotating joint there. It's a pretty stiff joint. Up, back. You can't do the splits, that gets in the way. Double knee joint. Foot goes not much. It goes back quite a lot, but can't really go forward again. This gets in the way. These days, this piece would be a separate piece, so it would get it out of the way. Toe goes up a little bit. Goes down quite a little bit as well. So, see, foot rotates a little bit side to side, but yeah, honestly, really not much articulation there. But zooming in on her detailing on this figure, it's painted quite nicely, and the molding as well. You look at her clothing now, this whole snake skin effect, that's all done very nicely. The overall paint job on these golden shoulder pads are also quite good as well. Well, there's a screw hiding peg that they put there. The snakes are also painted quite nicely overall. So for a villain figure from 2012 Figuarts, this is nicely produced. Good paint, good sculpt. Just articulation is a little limited, but I'm not too bothered with it. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent figure. Over to the Phoenix, again, his paint's also pretty nice. The blue highlights, metallic highlights on the eyes are pretty good. The sculpt on this is also pretty good. Got all the muscle textures and the suit pattern, and all the cracks on him are pretty good as well. The overall sort of a chrome-ish red paint that they've done on him is quite good. And after all these years, I don't think there's any fading on this. It looks like just like it was from back then. So he doesn't have any of the older Figuarts problems where some of them would lose certain colors due to fading. Like, you don't even need to place them under the sun. They could be in the box or just a black room and the paint would still fade for some of the really old figures. So he's got the same sort of weird shoulder problems as Medusa there, but since he's a guy, it doesn't look that out of place. But anyway, articulation-wise, double neck joint. You see what? That's not a ball joint though. That's a peg joint. Just pick that back in there, but yeah, just look. Yeah, it's still got quite a lot of movement. I think there's ball joint in there. It's just top one isn't. Full rotation. Let's see. His shoulder pads on a hinge and peg. Okay. So you got the dumbbell joint for the upper shoulder there, of course. Arm goes up, down. Well, I'd say full rotation, but the shoulder pads get in the way. Full rotation here. Double elbow joint, but yeah, that gets in the way. Armor shape. Let's see, upper torso, that's really stiff. Not really going to get too much movement there, just due to his shape, I think. To be careful, these bits do stab you a little bit when moving around. So he's got just ever so slightly movement, and his legs, they come down just a little bit, so his legs go up, back, and did they go sideways? Not really. Again, these things get in the way, so he's got quite limited articulation, but I think that's going to be fine as well, because this is how his suit is shaped in the show. That's going to cause articulation for the actor anyway, so in terms of that, it's going to be accurate. Toe joint goes quite far up, doesn't go down. Foot is on a peg and swivel too. Got the full rotation there, but again, the shape of this does get in the way. So in terms of dynamic poses, Medusa is going to do a little bit better than him, but he can still, you know, hold his sword in a way, and can still do a certain pose just fine. So, and that thing about poorly written, they say the Phoenix doesn't die, he just keeps coming back and he gets more powerful every time he comes back. So Wizard's solution for him is to chuck him into the sun where he keeps blowing up. But that just means eventually, at some point, he's gonna beat the power of the sun and come back as an ultimate evil that no one can beat. So, I don't know, Wizard should have chucked him in the black hole, because then physics don't like work in the black hole, and there he will be like destroyed completely, not the sun. Putting him in the sun is just like, well, it's not going to be my problem, because by the time he comes back, I'm going to be long dead, but then the Earth will suffer for it. So maybe there should be like a novel or fan story of Kamen the Wizard, like, you know, a million years later, where Phoenix comes back as the ultimate evil that no one can destroy. So, but aside from that, yeah, for monster Figuarts, these are good. They come with the hands that you need them to come with. They didn't, you know, Bandai didn't completely cheap out on that. They all have their individual weapons, which you see in the show. That's fine. And the figures themselves, they look like the suits. They don't have any weird proportions like the original Wizard Figuarts did. So yeah, these are pretty good. If you like Kamen the monsters and stuff, these are very cheap. I got them for very cheap. This is why I picked them up. Dirt cheap, and if you can find them for dirt cheap too, yeah, why not get them? Because these days Bandai just keeps releasing like Kamen Rider Figuarts, which is fine, but you know, we do want like villains for the riders to fight with sometimes. And speaking of villains, you know, the O's Greed figures is something I do want to, you know, go back and pick up eventually. And I also really wish that Bandai would release some of the shocker monsters that they tease, like the Ika Demon and the, you know, the Lizard Demon. Those would be really cool to have, but they teased them, but who knows? I don't know if they'll ever come out. We have plenty shocker combat men, but like some of the monsters as well, please. That'd be great. So stay safe out.